Good everyone, welcome to lecture 3 of software development from basic. Today we are going to continue from where we stopped. Last lecture we discussed about tables and forms, advanced forms and advanced table. So today we are going to be talking about the introduction to CSS, types of CSS, selectors, external CSS practice example, then projects. We are going to be designing a simple layout using HTML and CSS, then designing a calculator layout using HTML and CSS. Project 2, you create a simple form, then you now create a simple form using a table layout. So let's get started. Introduction to CSS. I don't know if you have been hearing CSS, but the meaning of CSS is a short form for cascading style sheet. Cascading style sheet. It is a language used to style HTML pages. So this time around we want to be beautifying our page. That means we use it to add colors, fonts, layout, borders, spacing, etc. to your website. Why do we need CSS? We need CSS to make website look beautiful and organized, to separate content, that is the HTML, from design CSS, to save time by reusing styles across multiple pages. Without CSS, your website will just look like a plain blank and white text. So from the sketch of our house, after we build, we need to beautify it, right? We give it a color, we give it a beautiful looks. So that is what CSS does to our web page. If you see fine web pages today, it is the work of CSS. We now have 3 types of CSS. The first type is inline CSS. Inline CSS is written like this on the screen, whereby the P is the tag, the style is put inside the tags. What I mean is that whenever you are writing inline CSS, the CSS is written in the HTML element using style attribute. This is our tag, this is the attribute, that is style. Then we have the values, we have the attributes and we have the values. This is the element, this is the attribute, and this is the values. So this particular code now will help us to change. This is red text, this particular text that we write, this is red text. It will help us to color it red. So that is how we write inline CSS. We put style inside our attribute, inside our tags. So let's move on to internal CSS. Internal CSS, this one, the CSS written inside the style, inside the style tag in the HTML file head section. So from the structure of HTML that we made mention of, HTML, body, head, title, and the rest. So this particular one now, this type of CSS, we have to locate the body tags from our structure of HTML, then put this particular code, style tag, then you put the P tag, whether if you are calling the selector, any type of selector you are calling, you put it, then you open a curly brace then write the attribute and values you want. So this particular code now will help us to locate where p tags is in our body, in the body of the code, then color any text that I find there in blue. So the last but not the least, which is external tag. External tag, this is written in a separate CSS files and linked to the HTML using a link tag. So external CSS is the most recommended for big projects because it keeps code clean, organized, and reused. So if you are working on a big project, I will advise you to use external CSS. This is how it works. You have to create HTML tag separate and create CSS tag separate. When we reach CSS code example, we'll explain more better. So this is particular code that we have written. We have our HTML code now written and we have our CSS code written. So we have to be using a link tag to link from our HTML to the CSS, so that whatever we put in our CSS code will be reading in our HTML code. So that's how that one works, having two files, CSS and the HTML tag. So let's move on to CSS selectors. What is a selectors? Selectors are used to target HTML element, so you can apply style to them. What does it mean? What you can use to briefly or to understand this particular statement is that all tags are selectors. Then if you are talking, we have many selectors. We have tags, element, we have ID element, and we have class selectors. So those are the selectors we have. So this is it. Selector types. We have element, so it can be of p tags. That is all p tags. That's, for example, you can call it h tag. You can use another tags. You can even use body tags, depending. So this is called element tag. So if you are targeting any of the elements, that means you are using this first type of selector. The second selector is class. Class, that is all elements with class box. What do we mean by this? When you create a tag and you are having a class inside your tags, maybe you have the same tags, but you want to classify them according to tags. So dot anything dot class, that's the name of the class, will be used. I know you will understand this better when we start our practical. Then we have ID tag, that is the using of using of hash. Element with ID. When you create a tag, you create ID equal to something. That equal to something, the name of that thing, that is what you'll be using as your ID, hash that thing. Then grouping. Grouping is all h1 and p tag, but our main concentration here will be on element, class, and ID. If you know these three, you are good to go. We have div, we have descendant, that is div. We can be using div, but the main thing we can normally use for the first for our basic learning, let's concentrate on element, class, and ID. So let's see how this code works. Yeah, we have created two files here. The number one file is index.html. That is where you'll be writing all your HTML code. You save it as .html. Either you put in the, it's better you put in the folder save it inside your folder. Then you save another files to style.css. that is where you'll be putting all your style code. For example, you copy this one now and put in your index.html. These are all the tags here. Then this particular link reel, that is what we are using to link this CSS. Link reel, that means link this particular style sheet. Then the file name of that style sheet is style.css. That is why we are having style.css. So this is our welcome to my website. That is the H1 we have under our normal code. So if we are styling this now, we want to like get this particular H1, we want to color this, for example. That means we can use our element selector. Don't forget, we have element selector, that is all tags. So we can use element selector because it is a tag. Now let's move on to where it is written in the CSS. So if you look at it now from this CSS, it is tagging body. So that means this particular code now wants to give a font style and font style of our area and font style of sans serif. Then you want to color the background to be FO. So this particular code now is tagging the body, how the body will look like. That is your web page body. Then the second one now is tagging the H1. It's trying to give the color of the text of that H1, which is this one. You want to give the color of this to what? Is it dark black? Let's see how it will load. It's loading. So it's colored dark blue. That is text aligned to center. You want that particular text to go to center and in a color of dark blue. Then we now use a class here, .intro. Let's look for the class that is .intro. Let's trace class.intro. Class.intro. Is anywhere we create a class? That is inside this p tag we create a tag called class. P class intro. So we want to color anything that is inside the attribute that is in the front of this class. That is, this is a sample paragraph style with CSS. We want to color it, we want to format it too. That's why we are calling that particular class. That is why you are seeing this .intro. We are coloring it green and the font size 18 px. Then we are using this next one now. We are using the ID selector. That's why you are seeing main. So if you look at your HTML code now, you see something like mail. See it, div id main. So we are calling this main now. That means anything that is inside this opening and closing tag will be called and be formatted. So the only thing that is inside here now is this is inside the main section. So it will only format whatever that is inside here because we call the ID called main. So on that ID we are trying to give it a background color, border and padding. So next class we are going to be talking more about this. So I wish us all the best, but before we call it a day, we have an assignment that we need to do. So please, let's do it, and we meet next class. Thank you.